Good morning, beautiful people. You know, if it's around 9 o'clock, it's time for Lovebabz, Love Talk. I'm Babz Rawls Ivy. So this morning, this is the cool show today. I got the cool kids. I got Bitsie Clark and Barbara Lamb. And we are talking about the formulation of the Bitsie Chicks.
Yes.
And
the Bitsie Clark Fund for Artists.
And the Bitsie Clark Fund for Artists, because what else would we do? So welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, good morning to you. We're
it is
delighted
nice
to be here.
See y'all. It's nice to see you. Now, Bitsie and I go way back because we were on the board of aldermen together.
Yep, we had a lot of fun doing that.
We did.
Yeah, it was like going to the theater every Monday night.
The good old days when we were all civilized. So you all got together. Tell me the story, Barbara. How did this come about?
Well,
because you could have done this at any point in Bitsie Clark's history.
Well, I think it all came about I think it's been 3 years now, right? I happened to be at the Community Foundation for an information session they had about some various things. I had brought a young friend of mine who wanted to learn more about the foundation, and Will Ginsburg was talking about how funds start, and he said most funds start after someone dies. Their family or friends will start a fund and to honor them and memorialize their life. And I'm thinking about Bitsie, and I'm thinking, that's one person that needs to be memorialized. And I wonder when she's going to die so we could do this. And the more I thought about it, I
friends
thought,
like these, Bits.
Yeah, well, maybe we don't need to wait until she dies. So I said to Will, do people ever start a fund in people's honor while they're still alive? And he said, sure, that happens occasionally, not as often, but it could certainly happen. So I said, I think I'd like to start a fund in honor of Bitsie. And he said, that would be great. Well, I knew that this was a huge undertaking and that I could never do it myself. So I called up my friend Mary Ann Ott, and she said, I'm in, I'm game. That sounds like fun. And then I called the other Bitsie chicks. I called Mimsy Coleman, who had worked for Bitsie way back in the beginning, and Robin Golden and Betty Mons, who actually took over the Arts Council after Bitsie retired. And everybody said, this is a great idea. Let's do it. So it has been a true collaboration of a lot of old friends who have come together. And then, of course, someone came up with the bright idea of calling us the Bitsie Chicks.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing was that they actually did all this before they told me.
I would imagine.
And then they told me, and I was so excited about it. I couldn't believe it, because these 5 women are just the best, and they were geniuses. I hired lots and lots of people at the Arts Council, and many of them were wonderful. These particular 5 women were extremely terrific. They all had different skills. Some of them were administrators, some were marketers, some were fundraisers, that kind of thing. So I had come to, I had not worked for 16 years. I worked for the Girl Scouts for 10 years when I first came, learning all about how you train volunteers. And then I stopped work to bring up a family. And then as the kids got into high school and stuff, I decided to go back to work. And that's when I got the job at the Arts Council. And I knew absolutely nothing about the arts. I mean, I went to the theater every once in a while, and I took piano lessons. That was about what I knew. But the Arts Council was starting on the development of Audubon Street. And they had already gotten the arts there, but they were now going to put in places where people lived, worked, and shopped. And what was they were going to do away with surface parking lots that were on that street, where all of the arts institutions' faculties were parking for $8 a month.
Wow.
And we were going to come and do away with all of those, put in housing, put in retail, and then also put in a parking garage where all these institutions, these nonprofit institutions, are going to have to pay $90 a month for parking. So the people on the street, the arts institutions, were not in favor of this.
Really?
No, because I mean they didn't want to lose their parking spots. So they were the guy that was in charge of the arts council at the time was not really. He was interested in the big arts like the Schubert and the Yale Rep and stuff like that. Long Wharf. He didn't care anything about what was going on in the street. So he left. And what they were looking for, really, or what they got, and what was a good thing that they got, was not an artist. They got a Girl Scout. My job was to put all these people that get enthusiastic and want to work together and everything. And we were able to pull it off, and mostly because I just had to run around and be the cheerleader, and all the rest of these people really knew what they were doing. They were raising money. They were developing all kinds of programs. They were doing planning. They were doing training of artists on how to do better at what they were doing. So I didn't need to know about arts. I just had these great people who knew about it. So for me, I felt like, well, they taught me everything I know. They seemed to think that just by watching me run around and be a cheerleader, they were learning a lot too. But they were then able to go out and start being a cheerleader in some other place. So.
Yeah, but it's important to note that none of us, I don't know that any of us really worked together.
Each one of these people worked for me at different times.
I overlapped a little bit with Marianne Ott, and I overlapped at the other end with Betty Mons.
Right.
So you start this fund, and what do you want this fund to do? Like, what was the conversation?
Well,
and was it over cocktails? Because I can't imagine that it wouldn't be.
Well, most of our conversations these days are over breakfast, but it probably was over cocktails. If I remember correctly, we met at Bitsie's house with a bottle of wine or two.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, and I think all the Bitsie chicks were in agreement that we wanted it to support whatever Bitsie wanted it to support.
Okay.
The idea was that we wanted to honor her. And at that point in time, she was still working for Home Haven. And I think everyone knows a little bit about Home Haven, the organization that helps older people stay in their homes. And we said if you wanted to benefit Home Haven, if you wanted to benefit the Arts Council, if you wanted to benefit the arts in general or artists. And
see, and what I did a lot of thinking about this because we talked at great length about the arts. Just this would be a fund for the arts, which was just so broad, and I don't know whether it really was going to accomplish anything much. But when I thought about it, the major issue that I dealt with that was a problem the entire time I was there, and I worked in 19 years for the Arts Council, was a steady stream of artists who were coming in and needing just a little bit of money. Like, I want to make a CD of my work so I can send it around. Not enough money to be able to make a new CD. They wanted to maybe be able to have a video done of their dance things, or hire a photographer to take good, decent pictures of their artwork that they could send for juried shows. And these were things that really required not a lot of money, maybe several $100s or something like that. And they actually could never find that kind of money to do this. And these were all artists that were, living sort of hand to mouth. I mean, most artists do. They don't make a lot of money in the arts. Many of them were teaching art and stuff like that, but they were bringing up families. So it was so discouraging to really watch very talented people and see them not even be able to make a step forward because they couldn't market they couldn't show what they could do. So I said, gee, if we could, and the problem is that there are very, very few places where artists are actually supported directly, money given to the artists to do things. So I said, well, this would be the hardest thing we could do. But it would be, I think, one of the best things we could do is to make this a Bitsie Clark Fund for artists. And so that's what this really is. Now, there's a very interesting complication, and that is that the thing is so wonderful about the Community Foundation is that they will, for you, for us, for anybody that wants to do a donor-advised fund, they will be the organization that makes it run. They're going to invest it. They'll help it to grow. If you're just raising money and putting it in there, but they are not in a position. They very, very few organizations, maybe the Andy Warhol Foundation or something like that, can give money to an individual.
Okay.
That a nonprofit really has to be able to give it to another, not to a foundation has to give it to a nonprofit that can either be using it themselves or be a fiscal agent for somebody. When I was at the Arts Council, we were doing a lot of fiscal agencies for. We would, if we could find, we would, give the money to the artist through money would come to us that we would give to the artist. So one of the things we had to do is figure out how can we give money directly to artists, and maybe you should explain that a little bit about how we work this out.
Okay, so one of the things we did was we started by talking with the Arts Council, who has served as a fiscal agent for a lot of individual artists.
I'm an Arts Council board member.
Oh, that's right.
That's
okay.
right. There you are.
And of course, the Arts Council is more than happy to serve as a fiscal agent if an artist does not have a relationship with a nonprofit. However, many artists, I should say, have relationships they might work with or teach at, such as our first recipient, Barbara Harder, who is an artist who teaches at Creative Arts Workshop. So it was a natural fit for her and Creative Arts Workshop to receive this, the first grant that we gave out.
So
in
you've
December.
already given out money.
We gave out one
so far.
We can talk more about that.
We did it because we had launched. We'd raised enough money to be able to give a substantial thing. I think we gave $2,500, and we wanted to have this come right away. So we made that decision. But from now on, this is all going to be something that
there's an application process.
One of the things I wanted to do, because I think this will be something you'd be very interested in. One of the examples that we gave to people about the problems with doing with this was, a wonderful photographer, absolutely fabulous photographer, who this was several years ago, who got the idea of giving homeless people on the green the Instamatic cameras, and then spending time teaching them about what makes a good photograph and helping them and stuff. So he's going to buy Instamatic cameras, give them to these people on the green, spend some time teaching these homeless people, and then working out a way and having some money to put on a show of their work, of their photographs, so that they would have a chance to see their work shown. And he couldn't find any way to do this. But with this kind of thing, as this came up with this kind of thing, this is a person who could go to Columbus House and say, I have an idea. Could we work together? And the money would come in through, go to the Columbus House and go to then pay the artist. So that another thing is that the Columbus House could come to us and say, we have a great idea. We have a wonderful artist here that could do this. So this becomes a collaboration, which is very important, I think, that people learn how to collaborate, how an artist can work with another organization and they can accomplish things that both want to accomplish. So I think in some ways this is going to do much more than just artists. It's going to teach people about collaborating. It's going to teach nonprofit organizations what artists could do for them. I mean, somebody might want to have a mural put up on the outside of their building. If they own a building, that would never occur to them that, gosh, we could go to the Bitsie Fund and get money and maybe pay an artist to do a mural. So this helps to make the sort of business of arts.
I love this. This is such a great concept.
It is.
So it's twofold. You can either do it in a collaborative way, as we're talking about here, and what Barbara Harder is doing with Creative Arts Workshop, or an individual artist who has a great idea that's going to benefit the community, or just wants to do something to further their career, can go to an organization like the Arts Council and say, "Will you serve as a fiscal agent?" So, like in Barbara Harder's case, she's actually going to be using the money to go to Japan. She's learning more about some washi's Japanese paper, handmade paper that she wants to use in her art. So she's going to go there to Japan, learn more about it, and come back and actually work through Creative Arts Workshop to teach her students about this kind of paper and how it can be used.
That is so amazing.
It's paper that's used in a lot in origami. It's very, very strong paper, and it's made actually in people's houses. It's made from plants,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very strong and very, very thin and light. I mean, I can't wait to. If she does a workshop on making washi, I'm gonna go take it.
I might be right next to you. So tell me a little bit about what. So you've got this thing launched.
Yes,
You've given out
a website. We have a website, the BitsieClarkFund.org,
Mm-hmm.
that has gone live, and the application is now up.
So now there's an application process.
There's an application process that is actually is started. It's in play now. And the first step is for artists or nonprofits to go online and fill out what we call an intent to apply. So this is simply giving us your basic information about who you are, who the nonprofit is.
In 200 words.
And they have to write a 200-word essay about what their project is and give a title to their project. And that has to be done by May 1st.
Okay.
So we'll be collecting these all between now and May 1st, and then we as a group will be reviewing them, and we will contact those individuals and nonprofits that we feel have the best chance of actually fulfilling their project, that the project makes the most sense, will have the most impact, and something that we want to support. And then we will let them know that we want them to go forward with the full application. And so then the full application will be online, and they can go on and actually then do the application, which would be due by July 15th.
And we give them a set of, the other thing I wanted to say was, because I wondered about this when I first read about it, the people that don't get, that we haven't said can go forward, we certainly notify and thank them for sending in their 200-word essay and say, I'm sorry this year, but don't worry, keep trying, keep coming back. And then the 200 words after that, and we're selected to make the application, we send them a set of narrative questions to answer.
Okay.
So they have a long kind of set of reasons and explaining about what they're doing.
Yeah. So
and then that's due by the 19th of July.
Okay.
15th of July. Right?
What? Oh, maybe
July
the 15th.
15th?
Yes, the 15th.
July
Okay.
15th. Yeah.
July 15th.
And then they have, then we have a couple of months to review it and go through it. We'll probably be pulling in other individuals to help us review some of these, and make some determinations about what would most benefit the community and the artists.
So what are some of the guidelines? What would be acceptable? What would be unacceptable? Talk a little bit more about the kinds of things that you hope that will come through.
Well, we're really open. We're open to hearing what artists have to say. But, alluding to what Bitsie had said before about artists' needs, this just isn't about creating new projects, new murals, new works of art or whatever. First of all, I should say any discipline, any arts discipline, is eligible to apply. So it's not just visual arts, it's not just theater, it's not just dance. I mean, it's every kind of art.
Film, literary, writing,
Could be.
books, writing novels, poems,
spoken words, poetry,
rap operas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything that covers the gamut. Something related to architecture. So, any kind of thing that you would consider.
Maybe there's
medium.
maybe there's a playwright that wants to write for creative consciousness theater, but actually doesn't have has to devote so much time to writing this play that they can't be going to their job at McDonald's or something, and so they're asking for money to support them or give them some time to actually have money to put time into writing a play like this.
So my next question is: so what is the limit to what people can ask for? Okay. Do you give guidelines for that, or people can just
guidelines are actually online. There's guidelines. So just to hear, I can read you some of what the approved uses of funds include.
Okay.
But are not limited to the purchase of materials, equipment, or supplies.
Because that's a big deal for artists, right?
Artist compensation as well. So the artist can also use this money to pay him or herself for their own artistic input on the project. So for time developing the project, they're actually creating the art. They can use the money to hire other people to assist them. They can use it to attend a workshop or a conference or do a residency. So, in some cases, an artist might want to just go to a conference and learn more, or take a class. So it could be used for tuition and conference enrollment.
They could use it for tuition.
They can use it for tuition or seminar fees. They can use it for performance or touring. So if they have a chance to tour, but they're not going to get paid for it, or their travel isn't going to be, so it can pay for that. Traveling to the destination, anything relevant to what they're proposing. It could use for improvements to their studio, to rent a studio or a particular work
And that's
area.
another big thing that I hear all the time about access to that kind of studio time and
for
places to
rehearsals
create
or for performance space. And any kind of production expenses. So they need
costumes or props.
Lighting,
or getting
equipment,
people to do lighting,
sound systems, things of that. So anything that the artist feels is necessary for developing him or herself or their particular project. So it really covers the gamut.
So do you have a dollar amount for each kind of thing?
Well, no, we don't have a dollar amount for each kind of thing. We do have a dollar. We're at this point, we still don't know exactly how much money we're going to give away, but or how many projects we're going to be able to fund, because it all depends on how much money we have in the fund and how much it throws off each year. But right now we're expecting that between $1,000 and $5,000 would be the
at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The amount
And
of the grant.
we've raised very close to $250,000.
What?
At the moment. Yes. and that
What?
throws off. Yes, we've actually in about a year, 2 years, we've raised
Less than 2 years.
$250,000.
Really, only about a year.
Yeah.
It's really about.
Oh
we've been
my!
actively
I was not
little
thinking
over-
$250,000. I was like,
No,
oh
and
well.
we're going now for 500,000. I mean, we want to get. That's going to take us a little longer.
I have to say, I'm really shocked myself, because when I first started thinking about
Because
this
you
and
didn't
talking
make
about
a big ask. Like I didn't see a
No.
whole to do about this.
Yeah.
I just kind of heard it whispered about, and you know what I mean.
Well, we have some very major fundraisers. We have Robin Golden and Betty Mons, who know how to raise money. And Robin Golden raised all the money for the Slipka Center at Yale. And she would be told by the Yale Development Office, here's 3 people in Manhattan that you can go and see, but only between December 1st and December 4th. Beyond that, you can't talk to those people. That's the kind of restriction she had, and she built the whole Jewish Center. She raised the money for the Jewish Center at Yale. So you can see what kind of, and Betty is the development director of Longworth. So she knows how to, she's been raising money for Hopkins and Choate and all kinds of places. So these are people, and then we're all trained. I mean, I went with Barbara to visit somebody, and Barbara very nicely asked for $25,000, and the person said, sure.
You can't ask me for that.
It was the first time I ever did anything like that, and I have to say there was a big lump in my throat.
Kind of like,
But it was kind of thrilling too.
It was kind of thrilling when they actually said, "Oh, yes,
thank you,
sure, I can do that."
Yeah.
And I have to say though, the first 250,000, there are a lot of generous people in New Haven, and there are a number of people with means who want to use their money to benefit the community,
and who are interested in the arts,
and are interested in the arts, and artists, and individual
when
artists.
you think about it, it was only 3 women that raised all your initial money for the International Festival of Arts and Ideas.
Yes,
which was Ann Calabrese and Jean Handley and
Roz Meyer.
Yeah, and that was amazing, because these were 3 women that weren't necessarily tremendously well known. And I mean, I was on that first board. I couldn't believe it. I mean, that they'd actually, just 3 women had gone out and raised that money. And the interesting thing was that they were not a 501c3 yet. This was back in 1995. And so the Arts Council was their fiscal agent. And I used to go around saying for years, oh, there's no money in New Haven. It's all in Hartford. All the money's in Hartford. There's no money in New Haven. And one time Dick Lee said to me, when he was past being mayor, he said, "What are you talking about? You have no idea how much money there is here in New Haven," because he knew how to fundraise. But we always said, there's no money in New Haven. Then we were the fiscal agent. So the money's coming into the Arts Council. People are writing $10,000 checks, 15. I think. Where have we been all these years? This is all. But it does. It takes a certain kind of person with a certain kind of an idea. It's appealing, and I did see that happen with the festival. So I believed that there was, and then to have people spontaneously say to you when you ask them, "Sure, I could do that," or I can't do 10, but I could do 5. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
I know.
It's been really wonderful. And when I first started talking about this with the other Bitsie chicks, in my head, I had a number of 100,000. Wouldn't it be great if we could get to 100,000? Robin Golden just looked at me like, "What?
What?
100,000?
I'd get $100 in my sleep."
and I never thought. We actually had a goal, I think, of 100 or 150,000 last year. That we wanted to raise by the time we had a big kickoff on Bitsie's birthday, October 30th this past year. And I just want to say to anyone who knows Bitsie and did not get invited to that, it was not because we didn't want everybody in the world there. We were scurrying around like mad, trying to get email addresses and contact information on people that we've lost touch with, or since I've retired, since Bitsie's retired, and since so many more people have access to the internet now. It's and it's been, we would spend an inordinate amount of time trying to track people down. And so people should certainly be in touch with us, because there is another October 30th coming up.
I was going to say,
there'll be another
I'm going to be on that list.
So you want to be on that list, because we had a phenomenal party.
So what was it? Was it a party?
It was a
party with food. Rose DeLauro came and she spoke, stayed the whole time. But the star of the show was Aaron Jafaris, who actually did a rap and about me.
About Bitsie. Aaron had written a rap
about
Bitsie. A
man of many talents.
Yeah, he is.
He'd done this rap about Bitsie at a chamber
I got an
some years
award
ago.
in 2007 from the chamber. It was a community leadership award. And they always had, usually men, and it was always like a video of the guy, people talking about how great he was, and pictures of him running things and stuff. They had a few women, but they'd never get anything in the arts. So I decided I'd shake them up. So I invited 2 people to speak in my behalf. And one, instead of having a video about me talking to people, and one of them was Frank Mitchell, who gave this.
I know Frank Mitchell.
Very esoteric, wonderful. He's a wonderful writer, and he gave a wonderful talk. And he was all dressed in gorgeous looking clothes. And then Aaron, who was dressed in kind of rap clothes, did a rap in which he used some dirty words. And some of the people at the chamber were shook up. But anyway, somebody had the idea, one of the chicks had the idea of, hey, why don't we see if we get Aaron to do that rap again about me? But this time he had an audience that was like, wild. Wild.
And
he had the right audience.
He updated his rap, and it's not a short rap, and it is on our website.
It's on our website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a video of Aaron doing the rap.
Will.
And it's like a 4-minute, 3-minute thing.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal.
It's really good. He really nails it.
Yeah.
Just too Bitsie.
I just saw him do something, a rap at the gala for the neighborhood music school when they were starting their middle school thing, and he was doing a rap about being a middle school kid. He has an ability to get inside a person's head and then talk about them as though he was them. I mean, it was a work of art. It was fantastic. He got a big, huge standing ovation for that.
Okay, so are you you're planning for the birthday bash gala too?
Well, we're right now we're really focusing on the application, just trying to get the word out. So we're actually trying to collect as many email addresses and
Mm-hmm.
and
Tell
get
me the
in
website
contact
again.
with-
Tell us the website again so people can hear it.
The BitsieClarkFund.org.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so people can go on that website. They can
Mhm.
find out how this all started.
And
There's
the-
an
the
application
application
process.
is
Yeah.
on there, and
And if anybody wants to donate, they can actually donate.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
that's
can
what I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
Can
there's
you- can-
there's a donate button. It would bring you right directly to the community
tax
foundation.
deductible?
Of course.
of
All
course,
right.
because it goes to the
Oh.
community foundation.
Goes to the community
Okay.
foundation.
Money goes to the
Okay.
Or
community
you can reach us through the community foundation if you're on there. You can all you have to do is search for the Bitsie Clark Fund,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll bring you to a portal that connects with our website. But also you can donate directly through the community foundation.
So, Bitsie, tell me a little bit. How does this make you feel? Because you are very vibrant. You're very much
Yeah.
alive.
She's
Yeah.
very much
Yeah.
alive.
Well, it comes at a very strange time in my life, because I always felt when I stopped being the Arts Council director, there was an awful lot of carrying on about the job I'd done there. What a great job. We did such a great job. You're so wonderful. Oh, this is Bitsie Clark. She knows all about the arts, which I didn't know all about the arts. And at the time, I felt, kind of like, no. I mean, why are you saying this about me? I didn't do all those things. As a matter of fact, after working with the Bitsie chicks, I realized I didn't do all those things. It was them that did it.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me of something I learned in the Girl Scouts, which was a definition of really good leadership. And it was about it was from Lao Tzu, a Chinese philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes like this: of the best leaders, the people only know they exist. The next best they kneel and praise. The next best they fear. And the next best they revile. But of the best leaders, when the task is accomplished and the job is done, the people all remark, we have done it ourselves. And that was, to me, what suddenly I realized these people, felt like they had gotten empowered. They were empowered. They were saying to me, you helped us do this. You helped us be a success. And that was all I did. But that was enough. I mean, because what it did was it peppered a bunch of organizations like Creative Art, like Cultural Affairs, and like all of the things that Robin did, and that Mimsy and Betty Mons and Mimsy up in Hamden.
Mm-hmm.
It gave them skills just by having somebody say, go ahead, that's a good idea, or well, that's a good idea, but why don't you try this? It taught them some kind of sets of skills that had to do with leadership and not really had to do with arts.
Wow.
They knew the arts,
Mm-hmm.
and I had been trained by the Girl Scouts how to do this.
That's such a
people.
How to be a
testament.
leader.
Yeah.
That's such a testament to the Girl Scouts. Like that's a good story. And I will tell you this. One of the first times that I met you, you were giving a talk about, and nobody else was talking about racial inequity on a lot of levels. And I heard her, this little pint-sized woman, white woman, talking about the inequities on boards and in communities. And I thought, she knows something. And I was so impressed that you were one of the first people. I mean, this goes back a little bit. Having that conversation, I was impressed, and I've been a fan ever since.
Aaron mentions that in the file. He said that I was this little old white lady was actually talking about getting people together from all different backgrounds and races.
Yeah, I mean that was it was just unheard of. So all right, so what is the bigger dream for this fund?
I don't know that there's a bigger dream. I think that is the dream. The dream is to pull.
I think
pull
one of the
artists.
big dream is that we would love to get to 500,000.
Okay.
Now, if we got to 500,000, I think we would have ambitions to go even beyond that.
Okay.
But I think that we're so stunned with how well we've done so far that we really now we're going to have to work quite hard, I think, for the next couple of years to get to that goal. But that is a big goal, so that we're going to be able to give more money or more grants. I think it's wonderful to give somebody $2,500, but we'd like to be able to give several people $2,500 or numbers of people $5,000, or maybe down the road have enough money to give $10,000, so that you really could replace somebody's, they could actually take time and they could get $10,000 to do something. They take some time.
They can
off
give
to
up the
do it.
part-time job,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
everybody has like a bunch of jobs these
Yeah,
days.
so many artists, they do whatever they have to do
Yeah.
to make a living.
Maybe they don't have to wait
Yeah.
tables as much.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but we have to really. What is very hard for us because we keep thinking about things that we could do in the future. We really have. This is an enormous amount of work, and I have to tell you, I don't do any of it. These 5 women, there's several of them a couple of them are retired,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of them are still working, but then they all have had in one way or another all kinds of issues with their family, illnesses, sisters and brothers that needed special help, houses that are destroyed by hurricanes and frozen pipes, like
Mhm.
Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody has had a year in which they've had to take time off, but the amount of work that these women do is incredible in
Mhm.
terms of keeping track of the money, doing the, I don't mean keeping track, but keeping track of the donors and putting together events. And, I mean, Barbara did this major amount of work for the big party that we did.
Mm-hmm.
So that at the time we had to come up with, there was an actual schedule of who was delivering what food where and who was going to hit this point and that point. I mean, it's an enormous
Well,
amount of
listen,
work.
she ran the city's arts culture for the longest
right.
time, so it's nice to see her, back on the
Exactly.
Well,
scene.
yeah,
this
it's
is
doing what
nice
she
to be
does.
back
Yeah.
involved. And,
No,
really.
And being involved with the
we
artists and the arts again.
We meet every other Tuesday
Mm-hmm.
at Zoe's over on Grove Street. And we sit there and talk, and we sort of take over that little private
Oh
room.
yeah,
they
well,
have.
we have breakfast, and it's supposed to be a meeting of the Bitsie chicks for who's done their assignments, what do we need to do next, what how do we move on from here. But unfortunately, because we've all become such good friends, or fortunately,
Yeah,
I guess,
yeah.
we end up spending the first
we
half
spend a lot
hour
of
just
time
catching up on
socializing.
and socializing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we say, come on, we got to get to work. We got to get to
It's
work.
like we're friends and we're doing this.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's got to be sweet though at
Oh,
this
thank-
at this
Oh, the
time
other-
in
I'll
your
tell you-
lives.
Babz, I'll tell you the other thing that it's done is that this particular group has maybe 1 or 2 people go to the movies together or gone out to, and since I've moved away and everything, this group does not socialize much. But all of a sudden, with the Bitsie chicks, we'll say, "Oh, Barb will say, I've got tickets to go to something at Maury's. Why don't you all come?" "Oh, great, we'll go." I mean, we'll go to it. Or let's all go down and listen to Andy Rubinoff play a Taste of China. Okay, we'll all go. So and then we go to all kinds of events.
Yeah.
We go to different people's plays.
Y'all sound like
and-
you sound like my squad. I have
Yeah.
a squad and we do exactly this.
Yes. Yes.
We
it's
do
become-
exactly
it's
this.
That's
Yeah.
what it's become. It's
Yeah.
become that.
But
and
that's
the New
it's
Haven's
sweet
such a
though.
great place to do all this.
It
kind of
is
stuff.
a great
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
The arts community has
and
really
restaurants. The
and
restaurants are
You could
wonderful.
eat all over the world here.
That's right.
You really
said it.
can. So this must be really sweet at this time in your life
It's wonderful.
to have this much fun
Exactly.
and do some good.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay, so all right, so you all are planning this. You're getting geared up to take applications.
Mhm.
Yep.
So how do we know about who gets an award? Will you publicize that? You'll put it on
well.
Will there be a big banquet for them? What happens?
Well, one of the things that's been so nice about the Arts Council is that we early on discussed it with them, and they offered to let us not only do in the Arts Awards ceremony do people get awards, but they also suggested that it would be great if the Bitsie Fund could give its award every year at the Arts Awards.
Oh, we
So
love
that's
that.
the first Friday in December.
Mhm.
First Friday. So that's when the awards will be given, and it'll be given and we don't want to steal a lot of thunder from anybody. I mean, I don't want to we had about 5 minutes to do this, and Daniel offered us more, but we said no. The big thing is the Arts Awards, and then there'll be this little money thing. And the person whose idea was this was Jock Reynolds.
Mm.
And he was because he was honored with a Newt Skank Award at the Arts Awards.
Mhm.
And he said, wouldn't it be great if there would be just one award that carried money with it? So he said, he said it would be so good if you give people the Arts Awards is such a successful organization or event, and then one group of people, which would be the Bitsie Fund, would give money.
Yeah.
Good money.
So that's what. That's our goal. Is
Yeah.
every year on the first
Yes.
Friday
so
in
it's,
December.
so for those that don't know,
Mhm.
the Arts Council has been giving out these awards for how many years
Oh,
now?
since before I came.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
In the early 80s.
in the early
Yeah.
late
80s.
70s.
And they
Yeah.
give out to 4 or 5 individuals
Mhm.
Yeah.
every year.
And last year was all about the women,
Last
Yep,
year was
that's
which was
Phenomenal Women.
yes, phenomenal women. That was great.
So every first Friday in December every year, they have this big luncheon
Mhm.
at the
Lawn Club.
at the
At the
Lawn Club.
Hmm.
And it's a phenomenal event. It's
Yeah.
great fun.
So much
Mhm.
fun.
And I've been going since the time I worked at the Arts Council
Yeah.
back in the 90s.
Mhm.
And so it just all works out. So we are all there, and we have information there about the Bitsie Chicks and the Bitsie Fund.
And the thing that's
And-
wonderful about that event is that there's people that come to it every year because they're arts people, but every year different people are getting awards.
Mhm.
So whole pieces of the arts community that maybe would never go to something like this are there.
Yes.
Because they're there to support their
Yes.
director or one of their artists or something.
Yes.
So that it's a changing audience all the time, and it's just it's a joyful event.
It is.
It is.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we are having these conversations about, what do we do next with it? Like, where do
Yeah.
we go with it? And how much more exciting can we make it?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and how expansive can it
Right.
become?
Right.
So it is a lovely thing. And
Yeah.
I think it's right and proper that you have some
A part in
time.
it. We're very,
in it.
very, very grateful to the Arts Council for that.
I mean, because people still think of you there, right? Like, even though I love Dan. Dan is the right
Yeah.
sort of energy
right,
and the right sort of intellectual
absolutely,
guy for
Uh-huh.
this job. I mean, he
Right.
really has art and intellect on
Yep.
lock.
Yep.
But it is nice to sort of still have you connected to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it really
Absolutely,
is.
and I'm very pleased with the whole thing.
Well, I am looking forward to the birthday bash in
Uh-huh.
October.
Yeah,
And
great.
I'm looking forward to see what y'all do and who y'all fund and who gets to do what and all of that.
Can I just say one thing?
You absolutely can
because
before
we
we
are
go.
trying desperately to reach out to as many artists
Mhm.
as possible. And if we don't have your email address, it makes it difficult to do that. But so if people want to be in touch with us outside of the website, they can also email us at info@thebitsieclarkfund.org.
Perfect.
So they can give us their contact information, and we can make sure that they're added to the list and be in touch with them.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they can go right to the website, thebitsieclarkfund.org, for more information about the application and about the whole process.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for
I've
inviting us to
enjoyed
come.
this. I feel like I'm low key one of the Bitsie chicks.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna Photoshop myself in a little bit. And I wish you all every success. I'm looking forward to the parties. I'm looking forward to see what y'all
Wonderful.
do. And I'm a good cheerleader, so I will talk this up.
Tremendous.
Terrific.
All right. Thank you
terrific.
so
Very good,
much.
Babz. It was
Bitsie
Well, thank
wonderful.
you
Clark,
for letting us
Thank
come.
Barbara
you so much.
Lamb. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Harry. I'm about to play us out. We good?
We'll keep trying.